This week, I'm flabbergasted at the service I received by Qatar Airways. Rude staff, poor food, and ultimately an experience that doesn't remotely resemble a 5-star airline. So come with me as I show you exactly what happened when I flew from Bangkok to Heathrow via Doha. Well, good morning from Bangkok International Airport here in Thailand, and today we're starting a 17-hour double-sector journey back to London Heathrow's Terminal 4. Yes, I'm already tired, and just saying those words makes me feel even more tired. So the first sector today to Doha Al Hamad International Airport from Bangkok is on the Airbus A380. Really looking forward to that. Big fan of the 380, as you very well know. We've got about 3.5–4 hours in the terminal at Doha to check out the terminal and maybe grab some lounge time and a shower before connecting onto our final flight to London Heathrow's Terminal 4 on the Boeing 777. I must admit, Qatar Airways' experience so far prior to the flight, so all things before that, hasn't been so good. My husband and I obviously got married 2 years ago. We set up a Qatar Airways Privilege Club account because we wanted to move Avios between BA and Qatar. And I can tell you now, without going into detail, because I'm going to do that later in the video, it has been an almighty, awful experience, to get that name changed and to work between Qatar and BA, and I'll fill you in later on what's happened with that. But for now, let's start this very long 17-hour journey back to London Heathrow's Terminal 4. Our flight today departs Bangkok at 08:55 in the morning, and the airport, although busy, was very easy to navigate. We tried to check in 24 hours previously using the Qatar Airways app, but we received this error saying that boarding passes had to be collected at the airport and couldn't be issued to our mobile device. Upon arrival at Bangkok Airport, a staff member, working for Qatar I might add, assured us that the self-service kiosks would be able to print these. But of course, that didn't work either. We headed to Zone Q/R, which is where Qatar Airways have their check-in desks, and after what felt like an hour in line, we finally got to the front of the queue. Here we were greeted by staff who looked disinterested and were extremely unhelpful. Not exactly the best start to our journey. Our first leg over to Doha this morning will be departing from the satellite gates, and to get there you have to take a train. The complimentary shuttle train service is located in the centre of the terminal building, and they run very regularly. So, currently on the satellite transit train going over to the satellite terminal, because Qatar are using the S terminal today to depart us over to Doha on the A380. So we asked about an upgrade to business class, and it's full. They've managed to fill a full A380, not a single seat left apparently according to check-in. There was some availability left on the Doha to London Heathrow route, but we can't upgrade for that particular sector until we get to Doha, and I think by the time we get there those seats will have gone. So it's economy for us today, but not to worry, we are flying on my favourite aircraft, so that's a slight consolation prize if ever there was one. So yeah, just heading over to the terminal now. We're going to find the lounge. According to Priority Pass, we have 2 lounges here. We have a Miracle Business Class Lounge and a Miracle First Class Lounge, which we both have access to. The only small caveat is, it says Smart Attire. I think we pulled that off. Today we're headed to the Miracle First Class Lounge, which is located on the first floor of the satellite building. So here we are in the Miracle First Class Lounge over in the satellite terminal at Bangkok International Airport. At the moment in time, it's quite nice because we actually have the lounge to ourselves. So I'll take you on a tour of the lounge in a minute, but I want to just talk about what I touched on briefly outside the airport this morning in regards to our experience with Qatar Airways customer service. I've got to go back a little bit before this. My husband and I got married a few years ago now, and our British Airways Executive Club, or British Airways Club account as it's now known, was updated. All they needed was a marriage certificate and it was done. And British Airways ruling is that your name on your British Airways club account must match exactly, word for word, letter for letter, the name on your passport. And as you very well know, I have a hyphen now because my husband and I took each other's surnames after we got married. Fast forward now, and we want to look at transferring some Avios from BA to our Qatar Airways Privilege Club account to make some different Avios bookings for the channel and for our future travels. Wouldn't allow us to transfer our Avios. So I raised an email to customer care and asked them what the error was and how we could resolve it, and I was told that somebody would get back to me within 72 hours of that email being sent, that reply being sent to me. We heard absolutely nothing for about 24 days, just ignored. And in that time, I decided to ring Qatar Airways customer care because I felt like I can't just sit here for a month waiting for a reply. So I rang them, I think on the 7th or 8th day, and spoke to somebody who was really condescending, really rude, told me that it was because my middle name was on the account, because the email didn't match, because of this, because of that. And every time he talked us through a process, telling us that he'd discovered what the error was and said that this would fix it. We repeated all the steps on my laptop and it didn't work. So essentially, after about 2 hours on the phone to him, I decided we weren't getting anywhere, and I came off that call and sent another email, this time to the head of customer care. So, no reply from the head of customer care at all. It was ignored. No reply from the executive leadership team. None of my emails were passed on. They were all just completely ignored. So I rang BA Club and said, hey, look, this is the issue I've got with Qatar. Is there anything that we can do? And BA were fantastic. To their credit, they took full ownership of the issue. They liaised internally with their Qatar Airways counterparts and resolved the issue for us in less than 10 minutes. And that was superb service. So BA, big thanks to you for sorting that out. It really was fantastic customer care. So, fast forward to Qatar Airways. They gave me a call to say that they were very pleased now to see that the accounts were linked. And I said, well, hang on a second, that's nothing to do with you. That was because British Airways intervened and solved the issue. And they kind of digressed a bit and said, well, it's a BA issue and this is what... I ignored all that. Then they said to me that somebody from customer care would give me a call or drop me an email with a gesture of goodwill or some compensation just to apologise for the exasperating experience that we'd had. That email came and they essentially said to me they don't believe any compensation or a gesture of goodwill is due. Bearing in mind, on that call with the customer care team, the only gesture of goodwill I said that would interest us, or would be fair, would be 2 seats selected together on the flights that we're flying back to London with my husband, said that at least we don't have to worry that we're going to be separated on the flight. And I thought that was quite fair and quite reasonable in the circumstances that presented themselves. Qatar Airways disagreed, said they don't believe anything is due, and if we wanted to select seats, here's the good news. Now that our accounts are connected, we can transfer the Avios and pay for them ourselves. I must admit, Qatar Airways, you've really got this wrong. Customer service was really poor, no ownership. I was passed from pillar to post, and it was really poor. It's a great example of how not to do things, especially when you're dealing with loyal customers from other airlines within your One World sort of partnership. So not a good start. But today, let's judge Qatar Airways on their merits. Let's judge Qatar Airways on both the flights as we get on board. I'm not going to let that experience mar the full video. Let's just see what happens today. So, as we sit in this lounge, I'm now going to take you on a full tour of the Miracle First Class Lounge. Rant over. The lounge is bright, airy and open plan, and thankfully air conditioned too. Restrooms and shower facilities are spotless and available for use upon arrival, which is always a nice touch. When it comes to drinks, there's a Twinings tea trolley, an automatic coffee machine, chilled whites and sparkling wines available on ice, and a wide selection of free pour spirits. You'll also find chilled guava and orange juice, plus beers from Leo, Chang, Singer, and Heineken. The Schweppes fridge is impressively stocked with tonic water, dry ginger ale, Manao soda, which was a first for me, and blood orange tub tim, alongside soft drinks from Fanta.
food, there were sandwiches, pulled chicken burgers, and plenty of self-serve snacks. A variety of cakes were also on offer, along with a rotating hot pastry cabinet. Ice cream and sorbets were available too, as well as breakfast cereals and freshly cooked fruit from the refrigerator. Hot food options were plentiful, everything from local dishes to Western breakfast staples like fried eggs, sausages, bacon and tomatoes, though I'm still not sure how I feel about cauliflower on a full English. There was also a chicken broth with rice and vegetables, complete with crispy onions and dried spring onions for garnish, as well as a fresh salad bar which offered croutons and 2 dressings. Plus made-to-order noodle and wonton soup stations. To top it all off, there was even a hot Chinese bun cabinet, a perfect finish to a surprisingly varied spread.
Well, our flight is about to board in the next sort of 5 to 10 minutes. We're going to head down. The A380 landed about an hour and 30 ago from Doha, so they're just turning it around. So we're going to head down to the gate S116 for us this morning, and the flight time looking to be in the region of around 5-6 hours. That's what it's predicted. We'll see if that lives up to expectation when we get on board, but for now, it's time for us to head to the gate.
The airport has some beautiful installations, including these metal elephant sculptures and this impressive Samudra Kanthan statue depicting the Hindu mythological story of the churning of the ocean. Today's aircraft is this nearly 8-year-old Airbus A380-800, delivered to Qatar Airways back in 2018. It still amazes me that it's going to be carrying a total of 517 passengers across to Doha today. After a short delay, we headed down the airbridge and boarded this super jumbo. Our seats for leg 1 of 2 are 61A and 61B. Waiting for us were pillows, headsets, blankets, and a fabric headrest cover. Each seat features AC power, ample storage, overhead lights and personal air vents, with plenty of space in the overhead bins. The windows are huge with manual blinds, and there's a sturdy fold-down tray table too. Oh, and we'll get into the in-flight entertainment in more detail a little later on.
Well, all on board this A380 with Qatar Airways bound for Doha, the QR831 flight, 8:55 departure from Bangkok. I don't think we'll be departing at 8:55 though. We've been a little bit delayed boarding and it's about 8:45 now. We've still got passengers getting on, so probably a small delay to our departure, but I don't think it's going to knock on too much to our journey. So one thing you do notice immediately when you sit down in the economy cabin, especially if you're sat where the window is a bit more space, obviously because of the A380, you know, with the way that the side panels curve upwards, you just notice that little bit of extra space, so that's quite nice. So join me as I take you on a tour of Qatar Airways economy service from Bangkok to Doha. We're pushing back shortly, and I'll get this trip report commenced as we do. As we began pushing back off stand, I decided to open the headphones pack, only to find out that mine were faulty and had only one cup attached. There was also a used ear protector from the previous passenger lodged into my tray table housing. Not the sort of thing you wish to find. I suppose a minor saving grace here is that the A380 is fitted with tail cameras, but they were really dirty and very low quality. No A350 crystal clear pictures here, I'm afraid.
Into the climb, the service began, but the cabin crew member on our side completely ignored us. Myself, my husband, and the passenger on the end of the row were all confused, so I pressed the call bell. After a few moments, he rolled his eyes, came back and served our meal with no explanation. An extremely rude encounter, if you ask me.
So, mealtime has concluded. I think I didn't look out and my husband sort of semi-looked out. 3 options. One was a noodle kind of dish, Singaporean noodle. The second one was a jasmine rice with chicken, which is what my husband went for, and that, he said, wasn't too bad. The rice was quite overdone and sort of clumped together. And I went for the breakfast option, which was eggs, sausages. It was described as an omelette dish. And I wasn't very hungry anyway, to be honest with you, but I thought I'll go for the omelette on the basis that it's breakfast time. I don't even normally can't really eat, chicken and rice or, a stir fry at silly o'clock in the morning. So went for the breakfast option, and it was god awful. I can't put into words how bad it was. The sausage was literally like rubber, like eating, a car tyre. It was served with dauphinoise potatoes. I don't know why dauphinoise should be served with eggs. All a bit odd. Yeah, really disappointing. There was a croissant with jam. That was probably one of the most redeeming features of the dish. And a yoghurt with a sort of set yoghurt with a strawberry kind of compote underneath. But mine was quite gelatinous. It was almost a bit thick, like it had been overset. There was also a fruit salad, which I had, and the fruit was completely frozen and sort of crunchy. The pineapple was the core of the pineapple, not even the outside, so we couldn't eat that. So I hate to come across negative, but I'm not going to lie, it really was poor, and for a carrier like Qatar Airways and what I expected catering wise, they've massively under-delivered, and it's quite sad to say that, but it's not been good at all.
Putting Qatar Airways' Oryx in-flight entertainment system through its paces now, and ultimately it is pretty good, albeit with a small bit of lag. There's lots of content and information available through the system, but I did find it odd that there's a section on in-flight dining with absolutely no menus. It just tells you that at some point in the flight you're going to be getting some food. A missed opportunity perhaps. Oh, and my husband tested out the games, another tick in the box. Then it was time to check on the toilets, and I couldn't quite believe my eyes when I stepped in the cubicle. It was absolutely filthy. Doesn't this just scream 5-star airline to you? Oh, and I might have totally lost my marbles at this point, but what are drinking cups doing inside a plain bathroom? Please never ever drink the water from the tap.
So I'm going to break all my rules and try and get better sleep, which I really shouldn't, to be fair, but pretty tired. So I'm going to test the seat and see how comfortable it is. The space-wise, as I said earlier, it's pretty good actually because of the A380's design, but half the cabin are in, well, more than 2/3 of the cabin are in blankets because it is quite cold on board. So, and I will give Qatar Airways their due. This blanket is actually pretty good. It's quite insulating and quite thick, so it's not your run-of-the-mill economy blanket, so I shall catch up with you shortly. So, on the sleep front, I've just woke up about 3 hours solid sleep, and I woke up to the cabin crew coming round to do their snack service before we land into Doha. So, got about an hour 45 to go, and I think that speaks volumes for Qatar Airways' seat comfort on the A380 and economy. It's certainly a comfortable seat at least. Everything else hasn't seemed to be that good, but the seat comfort at least has been okay. So yeah, the snack service that's just commenced was either a chicken sandwich or a vegetarian wrap. Both were hot, served in kind of a cardboard style box with a warmed chocolate muffin, and to be fair, it was pretty tasty. I went for the vegetarian wrap. It was like a tomato and cheese and red pepper wrap.
and my husband went for the chicken one. Both, no complaints really. It was quite a reasonable snack. The only small complaint was it was quite small. It was not a big portion, and that was served with a choice of either a drink from the bar or a soft drink. So just went for an orange juice, and my husband went for a Coke Zero and a glass of water. So all in all, it's been a fairly comfortable flight in terms of the seat and the sleep quality. The food, a massive letdown really. That first meal was really poor. So I'm hoping on our next leg it's going to improve, and we're going to get the true Qatar Airways experience, and also our connection through Hamad International Airport is going to be smooth. And I've heard a lot of good things about people connecting through Doha. I've flown into the airport before with a different airline, but I've never connected through it, so we'll see what happens. As we taxied off the runway here in Doha, I couldn't help but feel a little underwhelmed. I'd really built up in my mind what Qatar Airways would be like, that polished, world-class service they're so well known for, but this flight just didn't remotely deliver on that promise. From the indifferent crew, filthy toilets and fairly average catering, it all felt a bit lacklustre. It wasn't a bad flight, but it also wasn't a memorable one, and for an airline so often hailed as the best in the industry, that alone says quite a lot. So we are off the aircraft and it's connection time now. There is the husband, just beautifying. So we've got to go and find our connection. Never done the connection through Hamad International Airport in Doha before, so it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. But as always, I will keep you posted. So, just relaxing in the Al Maha Lounge, which is that lounge which we get through our Priority Pass membership here at Doha Hamad International Airport in Qatar. Now, we reached this lounge from literally seatbelt signs after getting into this position. Recording this piece now is no longer than 10 to 15 minutes. Absolutely smooth arrival process here at Hamad International. Really, really well signposted, really friendly staff. I asked a couple of questions as we were walking through, and everyone was really keen and eager to help. So that's really nice, and a really warm welcome into Doha. So we're in the lounge now for about 2.5-3 hours nearly. Got a bit of a layover here, and then we're down to gate C19 to pick up our 15:10 departure to London Heathrow's Terminal 4. Now we're flying on a 777-300, and I do believe that aircraft has the Starlink Wi-Fi, so that should make the flight go a little bit quicker. But in terms of my opinions on that Qatar flight from Bangkok, which we've just done, really mixed bag, but more negative than positive. In terms of the seat and the hard product and the space on board, pretty reasonable to be fair, and I had that really good sleep and felt pretty comfortable. My partner and I have just said, we don't feel like we've completed a 6-hour flight really. We felt it was a lot shorter. But the catering and the food was really poor. It was really low quality and very subpar. So that took me by surprise, because from an airline that really brands itself as delivering a world-class service and a world-class product, I think there was some sort of incongruity there, to be fair. But here we are in the Al Maha Lounge for the next couple of hours. I'll take you on a quick tour of this lounge as well, and then it's over to Heathrow's Terminal 4 on that 15:10 departure. The Al Maha Lounge is spacious and bright, and it has a dedicated luggage storage room if you require it. and a sleeping area too. There's no announcements though, so do remember to check the board for any flight information. There's an automated coffee machine, teas from Dilma, a wide range of soft drinks from the Coca-Cola company, and large bottles of still and sparkling water too. There's red and white wines available, as well as beers from Budweiser. Food-wise, there's small pots of hummus, tabbouleh and potato salad. I love lounges that stay in touch with local cuisine. There's a biryani rice dish which tasted excellent, and a chicken in tomato sauce too. There was also pesto penny pasta and grilled vegetables, not to mention a rather sad-looking selection of sandwiches. Things improved, however, with this 3-tiered selection of wonderful Arabian sweets. We had to try them all, and I can attest they were extremely, extremely good. Also on offer were blueberry muffins, slices of fresh carrot cake, and double chocolate muffins too. There's fruit if you're on a health kick, but my personal favourites were the Arabian selection of desserts. The tapioca pudding with sultana and pomegranate was excellent. There was a Western-style blueberry cheesecake which had a hint of spice, but this absolute winner, the caramel date cake with saffron crumble. I do love a Middle Eastern dessert. With about an hour left in the Al Maha Lounge, I decided to look for an upgrade again for our final leg back to London Heathrow. The seats were available, so I headed down to the desks. So after that tour of the Al Maha Lounge, which I hope you enjoyed, and the food here is really good quality. That's some of the best hummus I've ever had, and some of the best Arabian sweets too, so we've been enjoying that. I did just speak to the staff here because they're closely linked. I don't know if this lounge is operated and owned by Qatar Airways. There's a lot of Qatar Airways branding in here, so one assumes that it is. But the plan was to upgrade our flight for that second leg from Doha back to London Heathrow on the 15:10 departure. Staff here looked at the boarding passes, said, yep, go down to the Qatar Airways upgrade desk, which is located near the children's playground. So walked all the way down there, spoke to them. They offered us an upgrade price of £1,930 odd per person. After strongly sort of, considering that offer, they then told me after 10 minutes that there was only one seat available. Strange, considering that from the moment of arrival I'd handed him 2 boarding passes and said, I'm looking to upgrade these 2 economy seats to 2 business class seats. After that, I asked if it was possible to do it with Avios or Q points. Was told, yeah, not a problem at all. Looked at the boarding passes again and sent me to gate C2, which is where the Privilege Club desk is here in Doha Hamad International Airport. So spoke to the staff there. She said to me, yeah, not a problem. These seats are eligible for upgrades. Your ticket's fine, but you can't look at the availability because you've got no Q points. So I needed to transfer Avios from my British Airways balance to my Qatar Airways Privilege Club balance, which you can do for free and it's instantaneous. So logged on, transferred 10 Avios just so she could check the availability. And after doing that transfer, which took me about 10 minutes because there was lots of two-factor authentication codes coming, because obviously it thinks my account's being hacked being in Doha when I live in the UK, did all that and then was told after that there's no point looking actually at availability because these tickets can't be upgraded. Like, absolutely dreadful service. Like, what is going on with Qatar Airways? How has this brand got such a prestigious name? Because they cannot run anything properly. It's really poor. I've just walked the length of about 30 gates just to be told it can't be done, when if the first person I spoke to told me it couldn't be done, I wouldn't have walked all that time. Essentially, it's wasted a bit of my transfer time, wasted a bit of lounge time, and wasted a bit of time ultimately spending time with my partner. So, just absolutely shocking. And I'm not a precious person. I've got no issue flying economy. You've seen a lot of my content is in economy, and I'm absolutely fine with that, But I just thought, it's a special treat. Let's see if we can do it, and then do a Q Suite review for you guys as 2 separate videos. But it just turned into much more work than I had anticipated. So yeah. Today we're departing from gate C19, and the aircraft flying us back over to London Heathrow is this 7-year-old Boeing 777-300 Extended Range Series. It was originally delivered to Qatar Airways in September of 2018, where it's remained in their fleet ever since. So at the gate as we speak, and we're a little bit behind schedule boarding. We're due to board 15:10. Currently it is about 22 the hour, so we're about 30 minutes behind schedule. So it is what it is. The boarding is commencing, but it's quite slow. We're just doing it by zones, as you can hear, but it's been zone 1 for about 10-15 minutes, so it has been taking some time, but we are patient people and used to this kind of process, so just waiting for everyone to get on board, and then I can show you the 777 product. Now, I believe this aircraft is fitted with Starlink, which is going to make the flight go a lot quicker, because it means I can get some work done, so hopefully that's the case. But once we're on board, I'll show you the cabin, the seat, the service, as always, on this trip back from Doha to London Heathrow's Terminal 4. Finally, it was time to get on board the aircraft and start leg 2 of 2 all the way back to Heathrow. The boarding process was a little antiquated, but eventually we made it on board. We did pay for these 2 seats together, and if you're travelling as a couple, then I highly recommend row 22 A and B or 22 J and K, which cost us £32 each to select. A little pricey, but worth it for the comfort. And as you can see, the C seat is non-existent, so we had nobody sitting next to us. The seats have individual air vents and reading lights too, and come with a purple fabric seat cover, although this did feel a bit cheap. The legroom is fairly average, but these seats do recline, which is great. There's a USB-A charging port, AC power, and a headphone jack too. The seat also has an IFE remote. So all on board this Boeing 777, albeit quite late. Looking at the time now, 15:05 as I record this, and we're due in the air in 5 minutes, and we haven't even sort of shut the doors yet. So we're going to definitely be late off stand today. But it is what it is. And a strange twist of events. A nice warm welcome on board this flight. A special shout out to Suleiman, who was really warm and helpful when we boarded, and was very keen to have a chat. And we always buy the crew something, be it sweets, biscuits, or I think that's a nice thing to do, and especially being ex-crew, I think it costs us very little and goes a long way, and I used to really appreciate that when passengers did that. It was just a nice little touch. So a big, huge duty-free size bag of Lotus Biscoff. I'm sure the crew will enjoy that on this flight, but Suleiman was really helpful, really friendly, and poles apart really in terms of the welcome we had on the A380, where none of the crew really wanted to engage or speak. So it's a little bit different so far, and let's hope that that's the turn point in this Qatar Airways experience, which has so far been incredibly poor. As we began pushing back, the crew came round with a refreshing towel and a carton of still water, something we didn't get on the first leg from Bangkok to Doha. Is this normal, or was it an anomaly? I wasn't quite sure. 20 minutes behind schedule, so we are on our way. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The game changer with airlines is Starlink, or any super fast free Wi-Fi for passengers, because it really does change the game. My husband is sat next to me watching the Nottingham Forest game, so he's very happy. And has said business class upgrade was never necessary, as long as he can watch the football. So I can get some work done, he can watch the football, everyone's happy, we've got 2 seats together, nobody next to us. So far, turning out to be a bit of a different Qatar Airways experience. We've yet to have any food or yet to see any service start, so I shall continue to report back on our experience. The drink service began, and I opted for a Bloody Mary, which was served with a snack of sour cream and onion baked corn. Unfortunately, the snack wasn't great, but at least the Bloody Mary hit the spot. Concludes meal service 3 of I think 4. I think we might get a little snack or something before we land into Heathrow tonight. So 3 options of mains today. There was a paneer style curry with basmati rice and okra. There was a chicken, I can't remember the sauce, I want to say a sweet chilli sauce with basmati rice, and then a beef meatballs with gravy and mashed potatoes. So we went for the beef meatballs. And they were actually quite good, to be fair, no complaints whatsoever. Quite a tasty dish, very similar to the Iberia meatballs that we had on the Rio de Janeiro sector from Madrid. So yeah, quite tasty. Starter though, hang on, I'm going to put the microphone down and I'll show you. Airlines, please stop giving us this. I mean, it's every single airline I fly with at the moment comes up with a couscous or seeded style starter. Either there's massive budget cuts in starter area of onboard catering with all these airlines, or someone's just not using their noggin. Come and see me, and even as someone that likes to cook and loves their food, I've got no formal chef expertise, but even I can think of some interesting starters that would fit in a pot like that would please people, that would be relatively low cost. Drop me some comments below if you are fed up of Seedgate, we'll call it. Bird Seedgate, let's call it that. So yeah, the starter untouched and quite poor. Dessert was a cookies and cream style brownie. It was okay, very sweet, very sickly, and also the cream was a bit sort of UHT style, not fresh cream, so it wasn't 100% great, but it was edible and it was okay. Kind of gave you that little sweet kick, but it was a little bit too big and a little bit too sweet. I know, look at me sounding fussy with desserts. There was a bread roll. It wasn't warm, but it was, at least defrosted, unlike some of the bread rolls I've had over my time flying all these many years I have. There was a bottle of water, Rayon water, still water, and then a drink of your choice from the bar, so I went for a Coke Zero. So ultimately, not a bad meal, not a humongously fantastic meal, but it was certainly a lot better than what we had on that Bangkok sector. So it's time for me to do a bit more work. I've got to get something done on this flight, be a bit more productive and utilise this Starlink Wi-Fi. Husband's still watching the Forest game. I think we're 75 minutes in and 3-0 up, so he's certainly smiling, and that's a good sign. So I'll kick back, relax, keep reporting on this flight for you, but so far the experience is certainly a lot better than what we had on that Bangkok sector. Food's still a little bit hit or miss, but certainly much better than that flight this morning. Kudos to the crew on this flight though, as at least they were continually coming around with still water and snacks. I managed to snag a Lotus Biscoff biscuit whilst I got on with my work. It was then time for a quick check on the toilets, and whilst these ones were much cleaner than our first leg from Bangkok, they had no running water at all to wash your hands. Really not a good impression. I reported this to the crew, but they kept the toilet available for the entirety of the flight, with no hand sanitizer available either. After this though, I had to get to my seat quickly as we suddenly hit some pretty strong turbulence. Crew have just come round with the final snack service, and I did sort of jump to conclusions and think it was the chicken sandwich again. It's the same box, but no, it's a pastry lattice, a chicken pastry lattice, and it's terrible. Dry, overcooked, bland, fatty, not good. All adjectives that don't sound great. So yeah, my husband passed and I took one bite and it's now sat on the side waiting to be disposed of. So yeah, 1 out of 4 semi-good meals with Qatar. But yeah, it's been an interesting experience. I mean, the crew on this flight have really done such a fantastic job of making up for the entire experience, because they've been so lovely and attentive and friendly and going around every 10 to 15 minutes, no exaggeration, through the cabin to see if anybody wants anything. They really have been fantastic, and that's a real testament to them. But all the other cogs in the Qatar Airways machine have sadly failed or stopped working, because it's not been a great experience at all from that front, especially, like I say, when you compare to what it is you expect when you're flying with Qatar, or certainly what I expected. And maybe it's me, maybe I'm sat here with too high expectations of Qatar, maybe I've drummed up in my head a product that doesn't exist. But when you look at their marketing and you look at the pieces of communications that they put out to their customers, you look at that, you expect a certain level of service, of quality, of care, and I think it's massively fell short of that today on this flight back from Bangkok to London. It might feel deflating, and some of you watching this may have had a much better experience with Qatar, and if you have, tell me, comment below, tell me your experience with Qatar, tell me if you've noticed any service shortfalls. Is this an ongoing problem? Is this something that's happened over the last 6 months, a year, 2 years? Is it gradually getting worse? Is it gradually getting better? Tell me, because it's always interesting to hear other people's opinions. But thank you so much for watching, and thanks for sticking with us on this huge round the world trip. I know a lot of you have really followed with great detail as to what we've done, and that really means a lot. So thank you very much for your support. As we wrap up this double sector journey with Qatar Airways, I have to be brutally honest, these flights were a real letdown. From the disinterested cabin crew and the lacklustre food to the filthy, broken toilets, the entire experience felt worlds away from what Qatar Airways promises. This is an airline that constantly calls itself one of the best in the world, but on this flight and our previous flight, there was nothing remotely 5-star about it. I'd imagined polished service, attention to detail, and that sense of prestige Qatar is known for, but instead it felt tired, complacent, and completely disconnected from the brand's reputation. Maybe this was just an off day, or maybe Qatar Airways has lost a bit of its shine. Either way, I stepped off this aircraft feeling disappointed, and that's not something I ever expected to say about flying with Qatar Airways.
Well, that is us on stand. I've never felt so tired. How do you feel? See you in the next one.
Thanks for watching our 36,000 kilometre round the world journey. There's plenty more videos to come, so as always, I'll see you in the next one.